Welcome to Cranfield University. My name is Toby Thompson, Director of the glorious Grenville Turner Studios, is where you're joining us today. Thank you for your time, taking time out of the day. And if you're watching the recording, please stay with us for a little bit longer. We're here today to talk about banking, the sustainability and digital banking MSc here at Cranfield School of Management, and the Level 7 Senior Investment and Commercial Banking Apprenticeship. So if either of those are of interest to you, and we hope they are, otherwise you wouldn't be watching the recording or being in the live session, stick around because we want your questions. We're going to be together for no more than an hour, probably less, and that's dependent upon the questions that you have for us. So pretty much at any time that we're together, type a question into the text chat. We're not going to open audio channels, just text chat, and we will do our very best to answer those recordings. Again, if you're watching the recording, please forward to the end. You'll find some contact details. Let's carry on the conversation. The reason to ask questions is because we have an amazing team of experts here in the studio today joining me. We have the course director of the program we talked about, Lakshmy. We have two amazing students, Zarish and Alex, and we have the deputy head of apprenticeships, Sean, who can tell us more about the apprenticeship aspect of study. Before we do any of that, let's remind ourselves what an amazing place Cranfield University is. Gets me fired up every time I see that video. Makes me realize I work at an amazing place. So again, thank you for watching, and thank you for watching the recording. We have an amazing crew. Lakshmy, thank you for joining us. Stick around. We're going to find out more about you later, if we can. Course director, no less. Let's, if I can, talk to the students and to Sean. This is a reason why we want your questions. Sean, give us a wave just to prove to us that you're live. There you go. So Sean, you're Deputy Head of Apprenticeships, is that right? So you can answer any and every question about apprenticeships.
I am indeed, Toby. So yes, send me some challenging questions, people.
Let's make them really challenging, if you can. As I reached, thank you, give us a wave. You're coming from London, from Citibank, have I got that right?
That is correct, thank you.
Just give us your job title, because it's impressive.
Thank you. So I work in compliance risk transformation. I'm a business analyst at Citibank.
Wow, I just love that. We want to find out more about that, Zurish, later on. Last but not least, Alex, do you have an equivalent amazing job title, Alex? Tell us more.
Probably not quite as impressive or interesting, but I'm a commercial credit manager for Metro Bank.
Wow, Citibank, Metro Bank, apprenticeships, fantastic. Thank you, and a reason to stick around. If you've got a question for anyone that you see on the screen here, now is the time. Lakshmy, tell us about yourself. You're course director, right? You're several course directors. I'm going to embarrass you just for a second if I can. Lecturer in financial economics.
Yes.
Yeah, you have interest in developmental economics.
Yes.
Financial inclusion, household decision making, the impact of banking on poverty and public health, research in economic modeling, finance and health supply chains.
Oh my God.
That is really interesting.
Hi, Toby. Good morning, everyone. Yes, so I'm Lakshmy Subramanian. I'm your course director for the MSc in Sustainable and Digital Banking. And thanks, Toby. That's a good, gentle reminder of what I sort of do.
What you sort of do.
So yes, my background is economics, development economics. I started my career in banking. Then I sort of shifted to research and academia, and I'm now a full-time academic at Cranfield for roughly 3 years now.
Do you self-identify as an economist or a financier or a lecturer?
I like to call myself a financial economist because I sort of delve in the areas where finance and economics come together.
Right.
Because I think as you go and delve and dive deeper into some areas of research, it's not very clear whether it's economics or finance, but it's like the best of what both worlds can offer. So my area of research is more in that.
Well, I think we're in good company today. Thank you again for taking the time out to watch this video recording or joining us live. I've got a question for you, and I kind of mangled that first title, Sustainable and Digital Banking. I mangled that, apologies.
No.
You were talking about two programs here. Are they the same? Are they different? Tell us about the two.
Yes. So, Toby, the program is the MSc in Sustainable and Digital Banking. The pathway that you adopt to become a part of the program are two different pathways. So, the program is mapped to the Level 7 Senior Investment and Commercial Banking Apprenticeship Standard. So, if someone is interested to be a part of the program and they are supported by their bank or the wider financial institute, any banking institute or other financial institute, they can become an apprentice and be a part of the program. On the other hand, if it is something that you want to take on as a self-funded student, then you can also become a part of the part-time MSc executive program through the self-funded pathway. So it's the same program, but two different pathways that we offer for students.
We're going to keep coming back to that. So if that's not clear, you have a chance to ask a ton of questions on exactly that point. I guess we're talking potentially in this audience watching this to employers and employees.
Yes.
Why should they consider doing either of these programs?
Yes. So for the apprenticeship pathway, as I said, if it is something that you are interested in, the first thing you need to do is go and discuss with your employer. And what kind of employers are we talking about? Of course, having seen Zarish and Alex's background, it will be banks. It could be high street banks, digital banks, new banks. But we're also getting a lot of interest from fintechs, neobanks, and we're also getting a lot of interest from firms, consulting firms who consult for banks and organizations. So for anyone who is interested in being a part of the program through the apprenticeship pathway, go and discuss it with your employers. And I think it's a very important parameter for employers as well, because it's a good way to invest in your talent, retain their talent, support them in their professional and personal journey. So I think that's important from an employer's point of view. For employees, I think there's a lot of things that the program can offer. Apart from the enhancement of knowledge, you are actually a part of a wider network of bankers and financial experts. So you're sort of getting to know what others are doing. It sort of broadens up your horizon, because I think when we are all in our professional journey, we tend to be in our own bubble,
Yes.
very comfortable in what
Yes.
we are doing. But at times it's important that you sort of embark on such journey that sort of shakes you up.
Yeah.
It sort of challenges what you want to know and challenges, and also I think it sort of lets you know what you can do that you are not aware of. So I think it's a gamut of personal and professional experiences that you sort of, have opportunity to sort of experience and immerse yourself. That's equally important for all of us as individuals.
I want to find out from Zarish and Alex later on how they've done that. And you make it sound a little bit scary there. Don't be scared. Ask questions at pretty much any time. And you'll see a rolling text which allows you after this event, if you're watching the recording, to get in touch with us. Please do that. So how does the courses address the current challenges? Plenty of current challenges in the sector. How do we stay relevant?
So the program has 12 modules, and of course the core modules are everything aligned to what the banking and the wider financial ecosystem needs currently. So something related to banking that we sort of have modules on are something to do with economics in financial services. We discuss a lot around digital banking. We talk a lot about sustainable digital banking, product pricing, etc. So through the content that we are discussing over the 12 modules, you also have access to a lot of ongoing research that we do at Cranfield in these areas. And the kind of pedagogy that we follow here is very engaging. It's more activities, more learning team activities, case studies, etc. So we ensure that the concept of sustainability is like just not a tick in the box. It permeates the different discussions that we are having that's very relevant to banking. So our discussion is just not limited to environmental sustainability, but we also pick up discussions around social sustainability, sustainability related to people, inclusion, equity, that sort of permeates all operations in banking. So it's just not about the choices that bankers need to make regarding financial products and services, but it's also about how they are dealing with stakeholders, how they are responding to customers, what is their awareness of the wider community and the societal challenges. So those are some of the areas that we sort of touch upon. And I think the best thing is the cohort has current bankers. So our students, as we like to call them as learners, are current bankers who are in senior roles. So it's very interesting when they come on board and sort of say, hey, this is something that we sort of are facing in our organization. And the kind of discussion that we have is very enriching to see. So they sort of comment on each other's problem. We might find solutions through our assignments, our activities. So I think it's a very real-time approach to what challenges banking is facing currently. And as I said, we ensure that we have a more holistic approach to learning and just not to tick in the box as far as sustainability is concerned.
It sounds from what you've said, the appetite needs to be for those that are thinking of coming on the program, having some appetite for development, wanting to learn more, to do more.
Yes, I think at the onset as a program director, I would want to say it will be challenging. And I always tell my students that if you're not uncomfortable while learning, then you are not learning, because if you're learning something new, you want to challenge yourself. You want to take away something new that excites you. You might not love everything, but you will find something new. And as I tell my students, there will be light bulb moments. You're working on some project in your bank and suddenly you'll say, oh yes, I did come across this. Lakshmi did tell me this in the module. So it is going to be challenging, but challenging in a positive way that it encourages you and it will sort of shake you from your comfort zone. And I'm sure Zarish and Alex are the best people to talk to, because they'll tell you what their experiences have been. So if it is something that you are wanting to invest in yourself personally, and also you feel you have an organization that will be willing to do it, I would say seriously consider the program and reach out to us.
And there's never been a better time, so now is it. Are we talking face-to-face teaching? Are we talking online teaching?
So it's a blended program. And Toby knows it very well because he and his team are a very pivotal role in the delivery of the program. So yes, it's a blended program. So we do online live teaching, synchronous teaching, right from the studio that we are talking to. So the classes are scheduled every alternate Monday, 9 to 1. That's 4 hours. But we do have students come onto campus every few months and they spend the entire day on campus. So you might be doing 4 hours of one subject or module, as we call it at Cranfield, and the remaining 4 hours of another. The idea is to get all the students and immerse yourself in the Cranfield experience. And I think it's also important to have that face-to-face engagement, network with the academics, network with the staff, and also, sort of experience that knowledge exchange. So I would say 90% of the time it's live online delivery, fortnightly every Monday 9 to 1, because we understand we can't have you on campus every week. We would love to, but we can't because you are all there with full-time jobs. But might be 3 or 4 times in the year, depending on the schedule, you will be on campus for the entire day.
Brilliant. We want to hear from Alex a bit later on about how that is. We know the audience and we know that you have an option. You can study pretty much anywhere, this sort of thing. How is ours different from what other universities are doing in a similar area?
Yes. So this program was the first UK mastership program in banking.
Wow.
So together with the Charter Banker Institute, who is also an important stakeholder on the program and another leading bank in the UK, we started the program at Cranfield University. And it was basically something that we heard from the various stakeholders as to where the gaps were and what future banking skills were required. And that's exactly what we've done through the entire modules and the discussions that we have. And when we launched it a few years ago, around 2018, then it started getting more interest from other banks, and now fintechs have been embracing it. And so I think the first differentiator for us is we are the first one to do it. And the second differentiator for us is like the kind of interaction you have with us as Cranfield academics, researchers, and the wider ecosystem at Cranfield. So you will get a lot of support, not only in terms of academics, research, but you get a lot of support from library, career services, people on the apprenticeship pathway. We have a dedicated team that sort of handholds you through the different milestones as far as apprenticeship is concerned, and also the kind of discussions we have. So as I said, it's just not banking. We also bring in the human element of banking, where we have discussion on organizational behavior, leadership, culture, because we feel that's very important if you want to get the sustainability choices right. We have a module and few modules dedicated on discussing ethics and regulation, because that's an angle in sustainability that's not very, I would say, jazzy, but needs to be spoken about because you have to know what is required from you as a banker from a compliance point of view. You will do some basic conceptual models in finance, accounts, economics, but because that sort of builds your conceptual capabilities that you will piggy bank on when you do your thesis, because that's a lot of critical and reflective writing that you're going to be doing. So I think these are some of the few. I can talk on for
No, we want you
but,
to.
yes.
So I'm assuming part of that would be guest lectures as well, because you've talked about how practical and pragmatic
yes,
this is.
Yes. So what we also do is invite guest lectures from academia and practice from across the globe. So because by virtue of our studio at Cranfield, we have guest lectures who are joining from different parts of the world. And so you have guest lectures there who join. We have your alumni who come and give guest lectures. And I think that's always very interesting for a current cohort to see that they can be doing something similar like that. And what happens is we don't have to worry too much about guest lectures because our students always come back to us saying we are happy to sort of engage and support the program. So most of the year, we have alumni who come back and sort of share their experience and share their personal journey. And there's also a lot of opportunity for such senior bankers to engage with our full-time MSc students in the wider ecosystem because we invite them as speakers onto different areas as well. So there's a lot happening through the program. So you just have to get onto it.
Sign me up. I know a little bit about the program, as you can tell. So this is quite a program. If you're interested, please let us know. If you have a question, type it into the text chat in Zoom at any time. We're not going to do audio questions, just text chat questions. Type it in and we'll do our level best to answer that. Thank you. Stick around because I want to move to Sean if I can, because some of you are thinking about the apprenticeship route and we want to say more, Sean, and I'm glad you're here because I can't answer a ton of the questions that come in your way. Sean, just tell us a little bit about your role first before we pitch into that first question.
Thanks, Toby. I'm Sean Moxham, Deputy Head of Apprenticeships here at Cranfield. So I have been working with the Senior Investment and Commercial Banking team since 2018. So I've seen the programme evolve as we've worked with the different banks to its current version with sustainable and digital banking. My team is a centrally based team that looks after some of the regulatory compliance elements and works with all the faculties of the university and MKU to deliver apprenticeships for us here.
Brilliant. I'm going to do your job for you and say that now there's never been a better time to study an apprenticeship
Absolutely.
Than now. Why should people think about studying apprenticeship?
I think you've got a fantastic opportunity within your organisation to demonstrate that you've got aspirations for your career within the organisation. If you can speak to your talent and development person, HR, your line manager to think about the direction you want to take your career, an apprenticeship is a fantastic way to do that. As Lakshmi indicated, it is a lot of hard work. You are talking about a level 7 master's study with us. But the benefits, the return are immense. You get to study the academic modules. They're underpinned to the professional competencies that have been defined by leaders in industry. You then get to think of work examples of work that you're doing in your workplace to demonstrate that you perform in those ways and have excellence in those areas. You also get to work with teams outside of perhaps your day job, your remit, in order to reach those elusive competencies, because some of the standards can be so broad that you get to try different elements of the business that you might not ordinarily have exposure to, which of course raises your profile across the different teams. So it really is a fantastic opportunity to develop your career.
You're selling it well. You've got a foot in both camps, industry and academia.
Yes.
You've talked about how it might help your career. Is your experience that people come on the program, the apprenticeship route, to want to develop their career further, or is it just a curiosity about knowledge?
I think it can be either. We have learnt through our experience that it is a very good stepping stone to promotions to a more senior position. We sometimes hear that while apprentices are on programme, because some of the programmes are fairly long, so we can transfer their apprenticeship to their new role. That's permitted in the Apprenticeship Levy rules, and it's an excellent example where the progression is true. The route that you're taking, you'll see dividends. as you move through. And we also have links to our alumni, where we have received great case studies where people have come and attributed particularly their project work which they embark on as part of their apprenticeship, which is where they recognise a issue or situation in the company, in their role, which they think, I'd like to address that. And so they personally have the ability to create projects which address those problems, and then the impact of those projects permeate through the organisation to everybody's benefit.
So you and Lakshmi have said challenging, a little bit not easy. What if someone's watching this and hasn't been in education for quite a while? How difficult is that?
Well, I think actually apprenticeships are a great avenue for people that haven't had undergraduate degrees or A-level to access education. So Lakshmi mentions sustainable with the MSc programme, but it really does have an economic and social mobility approach to it, to an apprenticeship, I believe. I think you do have a lot of support here. You do have your module teams, so your module leads, course directors, you have your peer-to-peer support, you have your student academic support teams, the library services, there's Cranfield Study Skills Hub. So there really is support here for you to succeed and have the additional support if you think perhaps I need a little bit more support to address certain areas.
So tell us more, if you can, in the time that we have, about the levy. It sounds quite complex. Things are changing. Say more about that whole process.
So employers of a certain size with a certain salary bill are obliged to pay into their apprenticeship levy into a government fund. And then those employers can draw down that funding to settle costs for apprenticeship levy, apprenticeship programs. So it's a dedicated source of training funding that apprentices can access and their employers. So this is why we say that appetite to learn, that talent development is a really good opportunity to capitalise on that fund that is there, that employers do want to spend with different training providers.
And say more, if you can, Shan, and we'll come back to you obviously later on, but the expressions of interest, how does one think about approaching your employer, and what sort of deadlines are we talking about?
I think the expressions of interest, I would have a generous look on the Cranfield website and have a look through the different standards and the types of training programs you're interested in. This is the Senior Investment and Commercial Banking Apprenticeship, which is underpinned by the Sustainable and Digital Banking MSc. I would take that content over to your line manager, your human resources contact, and discuss with them the benefits that you see for yourself and the organisation. The return on investment for the employers cannot be understated with the apprenticeship programs, because you have the opportunity to feel invested in by your organisation and to return that with your project work and your competencies. And then opportunities for mentoring in future, so that circular route to then supporting others that may be next in line to try a different type of training programme.
Brilliant. Shan, thank you. Stick around because there'll be a few more questions coming your way. Maybe you can follow on that point about expressions of interest. How should one go about that?
Yes, so just to echo what Sean said, so if it is something that you're interested in, I think, and if you want to follow the apprenticeship pathway, the deadline for this program is the 28th of October.
Wow.
That's like in 2 weeks' time. So what you need to do is, it is something that you need to discuss with your line manager or your HR, people and culture, and ask them to fill in an expression of interest form, and that can be found on our website. But you need to get that done by the end of this month so that we can pursue. And if you need to discuss anything further, just feel free to reach out to me or the team, and we're happy to discuss. So that's regarding the expression of interest.
You make it sound so easy. Zarish, I want to come to you because you've gone through this whole thing, Zarish,
Yes.
and I want to find out in Citibank, how was that process? Before you answer that, just say a bit more about your role and what you're doing.
Sure. Thanks, Toby. So as I said, I work in compliance risk transformation at the bank. It basically involves enhancing the compliance risk space, i.e. implementing controls processes in line with regulatory requirements, which is obviously the need of the hour. So that's what I do in a nutshell. And just to sort of add to that, because I have a background in banking, I'm coming up to 14 years of work experience. So I've basically taken that and I'm supporting the whole transformation process. In terms of expressions of interest, obviously, as just to chime in from what Lakshmi said, I'm one of the self-funded candidates. So master's or MSc particularly was a personal decision. Like I wanted to expand my career within the banking space after working in financial services. And when I looked at the taught modules format and the program information, I'm again going to add on to what Lakshmi said. I could not find anything similar to sustainable and digital banking across the UK for that matter. And that's when I basically did my research, spoke with my line managers. And obviously, because it's more a personal decision, I just had to ensure that I was aligned in terms of my professional front. So they knew that I would be investing some time upgrading my skill set. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
You're our new best friend, Zarish. That's a fantastic, fantastic summary there. Alex, we'll come to you shortly, but Zarish, tell us more about this application. We've heard from Shan and from Lakshmi about how quickly you can apply stuff. Is that true with you?
Yes, very much so. So I hadn't basically touched books since 2011. That's when I completed my undergraduate. But there was certain particular modules where either I had a fresh perspective on things, I hadn't studied them before. So say, for example, strategic marketing. Now, on the face of it, strategic marketing would be very simple to somebody that comes from a marketing background. But from my perspective, whatever I learned in the strategic marketing module, I was able to pitch it when I'm doing my implementational or transformational projects. So I would utilize that skill set to be able to make pitch decks that will be very helpful to sort of get stakeholder engagement and agreement. Similarly, banking research in action, even though that sort of links up with my thesis, but that module gave me a fresh perspective in terms of how I can clearly articulate and write reports. And modeling analysis and management, I have implemented it for, I think, upteenth amounts of time, just because it gave me that baseline I needed to be able to streamline my thoughts, but B, analyze tons and tons of data, and also resort to structured data in a way that I can produce results. So I've actually used those analytics to sort of enhance and develop automation tools within the bank. So yeah, I think through and through, I've been applying the knowledge I've been receiving, and presentational skills. Some of our modules required us to present. And obviously, because this was a newer audience, again, I knew how to get stakeholder engagement after utilizing my experience at the university.
You make it sound really easy. What? But you don't have Mondays by the sound of it. We'll come back onto the teaching of it. What does Citibank want from you? Or they don't really care? Maybe they don't.
So to be honest, from my perspective, obviously, we can't downplay the learnings I'm getting here. So obviously, I can testify to the fact that within their team, they don't have anybody that has this latest sort of skill set, because everybody comes from traditional conservative undergraduate degrees. Like my undergraduate degree to begin with was in accounting and finance, which is very plain and mundane, but keeping abreast of the dynamic changing financial landscape and banking landscape, digital banking is something now that they're moving towards. So currently, the bank is investing heavily in big data, machine learning, AI, and I'm one of those key resources that has that on their CV. But yes, that's one aspect. Obviously, I guess they get the fruits of it, but obviously on some level they don't care because they're not actively investing in me. So I think all the investment has come from Cranfield very actively to ensure that people like me can learn and grow within their careers. But I've been using this as my claim to fame, to be honest.
You are going far, Zarish. It's great to hear. Stick around because I want to hear about digital currencies, which is your project. Alex, can I come to you because I want to hear a similar sort of thing from you. So Metro, are they sponsoring you? You're not on the apprenticeship route, right?
I am on the apprenticeship route.
You are.
So I am. Yeah. And that was actually a key factor for me doing the MSc actually.
Tell us more.
So I've got a degree in an undergraduate degree in psychology, sort of 10 years ago, and I've been keen to do a banking related qualification because I ended up working in banking, which isn't related to my undergrad degree. So I've been keen for some time to do a banking related qualification, in particular to sort of broaden my knowledge of the banking industry, as I'm quite specialised in commercial credit. So I wanted to sort of broaden my knowledge of the wider sector. But an MSc would have been sort of way outside of my budget, because I sort of a few years ago I cleared my my student loan for the undergraduate degree, and I was looking at much smaller qualifications to do. So then when the bank presented the opportunity to do an MSc through the apprenticeship pathway, it was a no-brainer for me, really, because it
Yes,
meant I
sir.
could do something far greater than sort of the courses I had been looking at. And yeah, I think that my main sort of motivation for doing the course was to sort of broaden my knowledge. But what I don't think I'd anticipated is actually the value I would gain from it, and sort of the career growth and the profile I would get internally at the organisation as well. So yes, it's definitely been a good decision.
It sounds like you concur with what Zarish was saying in terms of applying stuff. You said 10 years between your undergraduate and this. What's it like coming back to study? Is that scary, or is that relatively straightforward?
Well, I think after my undergrad degree, I sort of said, I was sort of
Never again.
completely over education. I said, I'd never do anything again. But it's been really good, and I think because it's so applicable to my role, and I can really apply the knowledge and skills that I gained from the course in my role. It hasn't felt as much like education as it did, when I did my undergrad degree. It's just really complemented my role. So it's felt quite different to the first time around when I did my other degree.
Wow. And we've heard a little bit about the mode of study. So you've got Monday mornings, is that right? Entirely online. Yeah. Say more about that mode of delivery, of lectures at least.
Yeah, so lectures are, as Lakshmi said, lectures are every other Monday typically, from 9 till 1. And from the outset, I agreed with my employer that I would use the rest of Monday, so 1 till 5, to spend on university related things. So, whether that's extra reading, completing assignments, or completing the KSBs, which are the knowledge, skills and behaviours, as part of the apprenticeship pathway. So yeah, that's kind of what my Monday looks like. As from 9 to 1, it will be a lecture, and then 1 to 5, a break for lunch, and then doing the other tasks on the course. So it's worked well. I mean, it is, as I think everyone has mentioned so far, it is challenging. There is a lot to do, but it has worked quite well for me having that Monday.
That's good to hear. Can I come back to you, Lakshmi? Yeah. Stick around, Alex, because we want to hear more about your story, your progress. So the program itself. Mm-hmm. We're looking at structured modules. We're looking at self-study, entire lectures. Say more about the program.
Okay, so the program has 12 modules, and as I said, the first year are modules that will build your conceptual knowledge and sort of build on some of the gaps you've had. Just picking up something that Zarish and Alex said, we get people from very different backgrounds. So don't be perturbed if you don't have a background in banking or accounts or finance. It's fine. A good example is Alex, who's had a background in psychology. We've had people who've had backgrounds in journalism, in history, and they are working in bank. We also have people who have entered into banking straight after GCSE or A levels and do not have a degree. So at the onset, I would say that should not be something that's limiting your learning journey. You should be feeling free and open to discuss that, and we are here to help you. So the initial modules are to fill those gaps, because someone might be working in marketing and know very much about marketing, but someone who's working in, say, compliance has no idea of marketing at all. So the first year builds on your skills and this knowledge and skills, and the second year is where it's more applied. So something like how to do a research, how to do something like a data analytics project, how to sort of price a financial product or service, how would you comment on the financial inclusion policy of your bank. So some of the more application and more conceptual decisions, reflective decisions are catered in the second year. At this point, I'd like to reiterate that everything is aligned to the Charter Banker Institute. So once anyone completes the taught element of the program, and I'm hoping everyone will do that successfully, they get the Charter Banker status. So all the concepts and modules that we are discussing is perfectly aligned to what Charter Banker Institute is offering. And as a banker, having the charter banker status is like an endorsement to what the banking industry needs right now. So that's to do with the taught element. And our assessments, I think we have a gamut of assessments. So certain modules will test your group dynamics, how well you work in your learning teams. We don't get to choose our teams at the organization. So it's like a simulation of what you are doing. So you'll be presenting to academics, different academics, your peers, etc. Other modules are more individual based assignments. Some topic, of course, we'll give you a direction to the module, but you could choose to work in an area that interests you or something that you want to explore in your bank. And so it completely depends. We give you the opportunities. It is very different for everyone, how they use it, how they leverage it, and everyone's journey is very unique.
Tell me there's no exams.
Yes, there are no exams.
It's the right answer.
Yes, there are no exams because I think at this levels, like someone like Alex and Zarish, who's had a few years of experience, we are not here to test whether you can sort of come up with an answer using a formulae. We are more interested in how you are analyzing the outcome of something or how you are applying yourself with your knowledge, and might be also put you in a situation that you are not used to, but how resilient are you to come and come up with a solution. So there are no exams, but yes, our assessment use different techniques and every module is different.
Let's find out about that. I want to come back to Alex. Can I come back to you, because you mentioned your psychology background is interesting, but you've got a project on real estate, as I understand it, and you finished your lectures. Have I got that right? And you're now in one of the assignments. Tell us more about how you chose that real estate based project.
Yeah, thanks, Toby. So I've finished the talk modules now, and now I'm fully focusing on my work-based project and writing my thesis. I've decided to focus on commercial real estate, as that's what I do at Metrobank. So I sort of lend money into the commercial real estate investment sector. At the moment, the bank is looking to grow its lending book, which includes commercial real estate. So I thought it was a perfect opportunity to develop a tool, sort of an internal tool for the bank, to facilitate assessment of new lending applications to commercial real estate. So the idea is it will support the relationship management teams with consistently assessing new applications without having to manually calculate the different components.
So that was entirely off your back. You weren't pressured into doing that. That was your choice.
Yeah, it's my choice. Yeah. So it's something that, one, is of interest to me, and two, will actually be very useful for the bank, but will actually relate to the area I work as well. So yeah, it's really pleased to choose that as my work-based project.
And is that easier because you're working in that area, or is it harder? How does that relation between the study and the workplace relate in terms of this project? It's easy by the sound of it.
I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's definitely beneficial that it's in the area I work in, and I think it's really, I would say it's really important to be interested in the topic at the heart of the work-based projects. I think that's definitely been beneficial, but yeah, no, it's definitely not easy.
Not easy. Zarish, can I come to you, because you're looking at digital currencies, and I want to hear how you chose that topic and how you're integrating it into work and in study.
Sure. So my topic is specifically on exploring factors influencing and impacting digital currency adoption by consumers. So what makes consumers or customers adopt digital currencies? I think because this MSc journey was more personal, and then ensuring that sort of it supports my career aspirations, eventually I myself getting involved specifically in a digital bank, neobank, or in the fintech space, because as part of my career, Toby, I have done digitization transformation as well, but I've not in-house worked for a similar organization. Now, keeping that in mind, and also factoring in the fact that at some point I'd have the chartered banker endorsement on top of my ACA charter, I thought digital currencies would be the way to go. First of all, it's a fairly emerging topic, which I thought would be very interesting. And secondly, because it's an emerging topic, there is quite a few components in terms of influencing factors that I can research on, but also practically collect data. I didn't want to go for a topic where I have obtained amounts of research done in the past, but also put like a mark or build the foundation up to ensure that I have a thesis where I can at least state that I've primarily collected data from people, understood their thought process, and how far people are aware of the digital currencies today. I myself actively invest in digital currencies. I have a couple of digital wallets, but every time I've spoken, even with my peers and fellow bankers, people's knowledge is fairly conservative. They can talk at length on savings accounts, current accounts with yourselves, and basic stock investments. But when you speak to them about cryptos, alternative coins, and whether they've utilized them, I feel like it's a niche subject where a lot of learning is due, regardless of where people stand in their professional or personal lives. That was what drove me to pick this topic.
That's fascinating. I'm going to ask Lakshmi about Zarish now. How do you feel you can support Zarish in that area?
Yes, I think especially for Zarish and for any apprentice or a self-funded student who's embarking on the thesis project, we would always sort of ask them to identify a few areas that really interest them. And for Alex's case, the idea was always to also ensure that he works for Metro. So Metro Bank endorses that topic and find it useful. So for apprentices on this program, there's a constant dialogue and engagement that we have as an academic partner and provider with the bank. And that's important, isn't it? We need to know what's working for the banks and what's not working for the bank. So for apprentices, the topic is always chosen something that interests the apprentice, but is also something that is seen as useful for the bank and the wider team that someone is working for. Of course, my experience is that sometimes people choose a very broad area.
Too broad.
Too broad, but please, we have to bear in mind that this project is also time bound. It's not like you are doing your PhD thesis, it's time bound. And I think that itself is a critical skill to have, that you are able to come up with some preliminary results which are impactful and you can demonstrate impact for the bank. And I think that's very important for bankers because we don't have the time and luxury to do what we want. So that's for the apprentices. For someone like Zarish, I think we've had a few meetings to sort of identify a few areas that someone is interested in. And then it's the honest discussion of where everyone sees their career, where they see themselves in, say, a few years' time, so that the thesis is actually a good piece of evidence that demonstrates what our students are able to do, so that if you put that on your CV and you're sort of pitching something to a stakeholder tomorrow, you can convincingly talk about it and you're confident about what you have done. So every topic that someone is working on in the current program is born out of a lot of discussions that we've had, so that we've identified a topic that really works for that individual, for the team, and also for the wider bank that they are working for.
Zarish, can I come back to you? Because you mentioned already you're working in the evenings, you're working at weekends. There's also a passion of yours, this topic of digital currencies. How do you manage the two, working and living?
Managing this has obviously been difficult. I would have to say it does involve obviously not going to all my social engagements, because I've had to spend some weekends or evenings obviously studying, and also sometimes catching up with studies. There have been instances where either I've had a client call clash or something of the sorts. But I think the way I've managed it is, one, having a strict schedule, ensuring that I do keep some time for my personal life, but ensuring that I do have allocated designated hour or two for studies during the day or evenings, no matter what. But secondly, I would have to admit, I've gotten a lot of support from the faculty, the lecturers, and my tutors at Cranfield. If it wasn't for them, I don't think I would have been able to do this all alone on my own. Because needless to say, as passionate as I am not the most organized person. I need support.
You're very brave in admitting that.
Yes, but I think if you have the right support, and which I have been getting from my tutors here, that has really helped me. And yeah, I'm just now nearing the end. We are finished with the dot module, so I can't even begin to tell you how ecstatic we are about that.
I want to come back to Alex in a minute about your project, Alex. But Sian, if I can come back to you, because Zarish has mentioned something really important there about support. For the apprenticeship, Sian, tell us more about what is available in terms of supporting someone through this quite amazing but tricky period of time.
Absolutely. So one of the support services that's most key for our apprentices is a dedicated apprenticeship tutor. So the tutor will meet with the apprentice on a one-to-one basis to really talk through how the apprentice interprets those knowledge, skills and behaviours, what it means to them in their specific role, their team, their organisation and so on, and the types of activities that the study is leading them towards or improving their performance in the workplace, what type of work they can bring forward to say, this is how I performed, to show that there's a certain knowledge, a skill and behaviour as shown. The apprenticeship tutor also participates in the tripartite review, which is a crucial element of the apprenticeship delivery, where it's a quarterly review every 12 weeks with the apprenticeship tutor, the apprentice and the line manager to discuss progress. So they'll go through the study, they'll go through the knowledge, skills, behaviours, intentions for the project perhaps. They'll also be asking any questions, whether is everything okay, are there any barriers that we need to overcome, do you need support in any other areas? What else could the university or indeed the employer do to improve the learning and development experience? So that really is a key relationship for us here at Cranfield, to make sure that we have that sort of direct engagement with the line manager to get their perspective on the development from start right the way through the apprenticeship towards gateway and then on to endpoint assessment.
That's quite a support that you've got there. Alex, can I come to you and just on that point that Sian mentioned there, how is that playing out for you, that tutor support?
It's been very useful actually. As Sian said, I catch up with my tutor fairly regularly. We have a quarterly tripartite, but I actually catch up with him more regularly than that. And particularly in the latter part of the course, it's been very useful. It just means I can sense check things with him. I can send sort of draft write-ups that I've done of the knowledge, skills and behaviours evidence in my as part of the apprenticeship pathway. So yeah, it's been very useful to kind of have that person to sense check things with and ensure I'm on the right track.
And to the point about study, as Arish was talking about, she's living and breathing it. Alex, you do Mondays. Mondays, that's it. You never touch it the rest of the week, or is it with you all the time?
Far from it, yeah. So Monday, it's not doable just in the Monday. So although I'm very fortunate to have that time on a Monday, I too am working in the evenings, the weekends. I'm very fortunate to have a very supportive line manager. So if I do get backed up with work, university work, he'll generally allow me some time during the working day to work on it, to take time out of the usual workflow and work on university work. And also, I suppose, a supportive home environment. I've got 2 young kids, so it's hectic at home, and it's also the support from them as well to allow me to disappear for hours and work on uni related stuff.
Where's Daddy? Oh, he's studying. Don't disturb him.
Yeah.
It's amazing to hear that detail. Thank you. What are you taking away from what you're hearing?
Yes, I think especially from what Alex said, what we've seen is many of our current students become future line managers and sponsor students who are on the program. So it could be a point that your line manager's already gone through the program. So they know the challenges and they know the expectations and they know the deliverables. So it's very important that you speak, discuss it with line managers, and as I said, someone who's been in marketing might not need to spend so much time on a marketing assignment, but someone who's never done marketing will need more support. So it's having those candid discussions with your line managers who might have gone through a similar process, and it's also the scope of mentoring that you have to sort of support someone in future. And it's not standardized. So like if Alex gets every Monday off, it could be that some people like to have a block date done, so a week off, so that they can catch up on. So it completely depends on what your role is, what works for you, your line manager and your team. But it's important to sort of have those discussions, and of course there will be some challenges here and there depending on what your role is and what time of the year is. But I think we've had a very successful lot who have completed the program who are currently on the program.
Amazing
So,
ambassadors to hear
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Just, Lakshmi, remind us again, the part-time decision or the apprenticeship decision? Just help those watching the recording.
Yes.
You might be asking yourself, which should I go for? Just help out with that.
So the apprenticeship decision is basically when you have a bank or your financial organization, your employer willing to support you to be on the part of a program. So a good example is Alex, where the bank has sort of nominated you to be a part of the program. And in that case, you can use the apprenticeship pathway. Your bank can use the apprenticeship levy, and you are a part of the MSc in Sustainable and Digital Banking, mapped to the Senior Investment and Commercial Banking Level 7 apprenticeship. For someone who doesn't want to go through that pathway and wants to make it a decision on their own, it's more of a personal choice, then you will do the traditional part-time MSc in Sustainable and Digital Banking. You do not have the apprenticeship element to it, but you will go through all the modules and you will submit your thesis, and you will be like any other traditional Cranfield part-time MSc student. But whichever pathway you do, you get an academic qualification, which is the MSc in Sustainable and Digital Banking. You successfully complete the taught module, you get the professional qualification, which is the Charter Banker Diploma, and you can have your Charter Banker status. And for apprenticeship, once you go through your endpoint assessment, where you discuss your project thesis with the endpoint assessor, you also successfully complete the apprenticeship requirement. So that's the fine difference between the two. It's the same program, but it just depends which pathway you are sort of choosing to.
I'll ask you first, but I'm going to come to Sean after you. The next thing people should be doing is what?
Get in touch.
If that wasn't obvious, get in touch.
Yes. So I think we have a very supportive team that is, behind the program, supporting the program. I'm the program director. So anything to do with the program, any confusion, feel free to get in touch with me. You go to the website or the web page of the program, and there are certain dates available where you can book a call, consultation call, and I'm happy to speak to you. If those dates don't seem feasible, my email ID is there. You can always reach out to us. If you are interested to follow the apprenticeship pathway, you will have to pick up the discussion, have it with your line manager, people, culture, HR, or the apprenticeship manager, as Sean said, and sort of reinforce the benefits the program has for you and to the bank. In that case, the bank or your employer will have to fill in an expression of interest form, which is available on the website, and the deadline is the end of this month. So you get in touch with us if there's anything that we can help you make that decision, or if you have any queries, we're happy to support you.
Brilliant. Sean, would you add anything to that? I guess you're saying get in touch.
Yes, get in touch with us over with Lakshmi. You can send questions through to the central team at apprenticeships@cranfield.ac.uk. We're happy to answer any queries that we can on the apprenticeship side, and we liaise over with the school side also.
Brilliant. Zarish, can I come back to you? If you're talking to yourself as you were 2 years ago, what advice would you give yourself, Zarish?
The advice now, retrospectively thinking about it, is I am glad I made the decision to do this MSc program. And if anybody is having second thoughts or wants some guidance or wants some mentorship, first of all, happy to talk them through it. But I think looking at the benefits and fruits of it, the fact that I can get chartered banker accreditation, and also I can like Lakshmi said, I can put my eventual thesis on digital currencies on my CV. I think I believe, and I firmly believe, I made the right choice, and it is already doing wonders for my career trajectory, but going forward, it will be a good springboard. taking that ahead. And never would I question my decision to do a part-time
Wow.
MSc at Cranfield.
Wow. We're going to follow your career with great interest. It's fantastic to hear. Alex, what advice would you give yourself as a budding psychologist, maybe moving into this area?
Yeah, I'd say first of all, go for it. Highly recommended. I think not only does it broaden knowledge in the wider banking industry, but I think the benefits for career progression and sort of internal profile at the organisation cannot be emphasised enough. And I think that's what I hadn't anticipated. I went into it, keen to broaden my knowledge, but I hadn't quite anticipated how beneficial it would be to my sort of career progression as well. So yeah, to summarise, I'd say go for it.
Go for it. And the highlights, I guess, Alex, what you just said there, that connection, I suppose. What would the highlights of the course be for you?
The highlights, yeah, I'd say the amount of sort of the knowledge, skills, and behaviours that I've been able to apply into my role really have been the highlights, and how applicable the taught modules have been to my role as well. So example of that would be the economics module coincided with sort of big changes in the macroeconomic environment, like rising base rate, the cost of living crisis. And the timing of it just really meant I was able to apply that learning into my role, which facilitated me proactively being able to manage the loan book at the bank. So yeah, that's just one example of how I'm able to actually apply my learning into my role to be better at my role and support the bank's customers.
Commercial real estate, Alex, he's the man you want to talk to. A bit of a plug there at the end. Fantastic. We've come to the end of our session. Please get in touch. It should be obvious right now. We're looking forward to seeing you, welcoming you at Cranfield. There's some big decisions that you need to make, but not too big by the sound of it.
No.
It's easy. Alex and Zarish, it's easy.
We are here to support you, so just get in touch.
Fantastic. We're going to end it there. Stay in touch with us. Alex, thank you so much indeed for taking time out of your busy days. Zarish, thank you so much. We look forward to find out how both of you get on. Sean, thank you for adding the details around the apprenticeship. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day. Lakshmi, likewise. It's been a real pleasure and a joy. Thank you for watching. The studio production today was by Marco Gomez and Robin Hackett. The producer was David Metcalf and Tammy Argent-Peters. My name is Toby Thompson. Thank you for watching.